So I know the name of the show is pronounced G-Cucks, but in English it kind of looks like G-Cucks, and I like that one more, so I'm gonna call it that from now on. Gundam G-Cucks was a show that I was really anticipating heading into the spring season. First of all, it's a Gundam. Politically driven giant robots fighting in outer space will never not be cool, and considering this was the first show to air after Witch from Mercury, a production I very much enjoyed, the choice to partake seemed like a no-brainer. Throw in the fact that it's made by Studio Khara of Evangelion fame, the giant robot pedigree was there, and so were my expectations. So, did it live up to all of this pre-release hype? Honestly, sitting here after watching the 12th episode, I'm still not sure. Let's get into it. Taking place in what we quickly learn is an alternate universe from the original 1979 Gundam series, where instead of main character Amuro finding his way to the iconic White Gundam, in this world it was Char, and via a whole slew of butterfly effects stemming from this one change, Zeon ends up winning the one-year war instead of the Earth Federation, and it's under those circumstances that we not only meet our main characters, but also my main knock on the series. It isn't good to beat around the bush, so let's just start with the negatives. The newly introduced characters are just not great. The first giveaway hinting towards this that I totally missed is that the main character's design kind of looks like the protagonist of Fire Emblem Engage, which I absolutely despise. Now that is quite the statement, and I'd like to let it be known that G-Cuck's story isn't nearly as bad as Fire Emblem Engage, but it's still not great. Machu, Nyan, and the blue-haired guy whose name I don't even remember just have nothing special about them. If you combine the three of them into one, I still wouldn't be convinced that the amalgamation would have enough personality to carry a show. Heck, something I realized is that the viewer doesn't even learn their names in the first episode. The second is explaining the timeline in which the story exists and they don't appear at all, so we don't learn who these girls even are until the third episode of a 12-episode series, which is just crazy to me. Halfway through, it had me questioning why these people were even friends with each other. They had skipped over just about every chance to actually flesh out these 2D sprites. Now, via the excellent presentation of the show, which we'll talk about much more extensively, the audience is able to derive a good sense of identity and quirks from these short, slice-of-life sequences layered with a bop and soundtrack. But then they open their mouths to say some dumb shit like, if you get killed, it's all over. Or after watching the person who took you in get blown to bits, I wish she could have tried my cooking. Like, what? They're just kind of plot devices to push along what this show really wants to be, and that's a Gundam show specifically made for fans of the old series. The amount of references to the original is staggering, especially when you get to the latter episodes. Characters, settings, even the music and animation style clearly aim to pay homage to their counterparts that inspired a whole generation of artists, including those leading the charge on G-Cucks. I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but at a certain point while watching this show, my perspective drastically shifted. When going in blind, I had assumed that we were going to get another Witch from Mercury, something that either built off of the solid foundation the former had built, or paving its own clean slate for the future to come. In reality, what we got was a love letter to the rich history of the OG Gundam timeline, something that honestly caught me off guard. But once I was able to contextualize the narrative decisions with this in mind, my enjoyment of the show increased dramatically. Yes, I acknowledge that once it went full warping time and space, rewriting existences in the fabric of universes, my first thought was, oh shit, here we go again, and more or less checked out. And yes, I can acknowledge how for those expecting something fresh or, well written, G-Cucks could have been the biggest disappointment this side of the decade. But dude, the mech has an anti-anxiety hug feature, and to unlock its full power, you have to intimately interlock fingers with it. That's pretty sick. It truly is one of those shows best experienced via shutting your brain off and enjoying the fan service, because setting the attempts at a narrative aside, the production is just wonderful. The rich color depicting this cyberpunk-esque colony is beautiful. The direction itself has too many awesome shots and sequences to count. The music, oh my God, the music. Much of it is used to support this techno hip-hop vibe early on to support the mundane happenings of our characters in this intricate world. One of my favorite scenes was just Machu chilling out listening to this muffled song, and when she takes off the headphones, the music clears up and we go on a little journey. Like, this would have made for an awesome music video, but then again, the following dialogue snaps you back to reality. There was another scene near the end where during this big climactic moment, the soundtrack that began playing literally made me pause and go find out who the composer was, since the first thought that crossed my mind was, is this Jujutsu Kaisen? Turns out it was Yoshimasa Terui, the GOAT for real. I immediately got Malevolent Shrine vibes from the scene. They share very similar vocals and made for amazing moments. The Gundam fights, per usual, were very entertaining as well. Lots of close-ranged combat, acrobatics. The mechs themselves are a blend of CG and 2D animation that looks really good. I have no complaints whatsoever. Frankly, when it comes to the presentation of this production, I genuinely struggle to name anything that wasn't superb. There are countless instances of animation that didn't need to be nearly as intricate as they were, like skipping down a staircase, but they were, and it's things like that that really stand out to me. I honestly wish I had watched this show with more knowledge of the greater Gundam universe than I did, because despite recognizing key characters from the original that make their appearance here, I'm sure there's just as many references that went flying over my head and would have been cool to catch, but oh well. It makes me think of how somebody completely new to the series would receive G-Cucks, someone who wouldn't appreciate all of the rich lore expounded upon through its runtime. And after giving it 2 seconds of thought, I don't think I'll ever recommend this to someone as their introduction to Gundam. The narrative is way too scattered to properly convey what makes the series so great, leaving me with the thought that they should have just picked one thing and stuck with it. If you want to be an homage to the original series, lean more into that. If you want to tell a fresh story with new characters, then spend more time fleshing them out. It's overly ambitious and tries to do a lot in a little amount of time. Yet, despite this shortcoming, you can feel the love and passion the team put behind it. It was made by fans who had grown up alongside the series. Kazuya Tsurumaki, the director, was 13 when the first episode aired in 1979. This was their chance to absolutely nerd out about a show that not only means a lot to them, but to a lot of people across the world. And while it certainly has its faults as a self-contained story, I can't say that I didn't have a shit ton of fun while watching it. Maybe not now, but someday I think that G-Cucks will be looked back on fondly as the Gundam made by Gundam fans.